Hi guys, it's Kiana again. Click the thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell. Bye!
You are now listening to the ReEducation podcast.
Hi guys, it's Kiana again. You're listening to the ReEducation podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. You already know what you're listening to. This is the ReEducation podcast. Today, I've got three amazing guests with me, and I'm just going to cut to the chase and let them all introduce themselves, really.
Hi guys, how you doing? My name's Samuel Onagoruwa. I've been coaching for near on 10 years, maybe a little longer than that. I coach inside prisons. I coach with the Young Women's Trust. I'm also a visiting lecturer at a couple of universities, and I coach with county court youth offenders. Thanks for having me, Sim.
Thanks for coming, Sam. Thank you.
Hi, Sim. My name's Michael Roper. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a coach. I'm a trainer. I also work with young people in business and entrepreneurship, and my passion is showing people how to make mental change and making that mental change permanent. Thank you for having me on, Sim.
Thank you for being here, Michael, too.
Yeah, I just want to say, Sim, that was a good introduction. I didn't know you were going to have like your radio voice on. Like, I didn't prepare one. And then you had Sam with the sort of baritone voice. I was like, oh my goodness. And then you got Michael, and yeah, I'm feeling a bit sort of left out. I feel like you guys planned this, and I'm just here. So anyway, I had to get that off my chest. So yeah, happy to be here, Sim. I'm Jeffrey Wotherspoon. So I'm a coach, executive coach, as well as a life coach. I've now ventured into the field of career coaching. I'm also a trainer and a conflict resolution specialist. With regard to my coaching, I work as an executive coach in companies. We really have people at all levels, and mainly managers. They're generally the people that tend to get the investment. As a life coach, I do a lot of work like the other two guys. As a trainer, I do train in a range of disciplines, but my specialisms are conflict resolution and also coaching skills, training people to become coaches like myself. So yeah, that's me. Happy to be here, Sim. And any other things that you do, make sure you give me a heads up. I don't feel left out.
There was no heads up. Jeffrey, that was a wonderful introduction to yourself. I just want to highlight, I didn't even know half of the things that each of you do. So that wasn't just an introduction for the listeners. Like, that was also an introduction for me, because I didn't know all of the things that all three of you do. And yeah, thank you guys for sharing. And Jeffrey, don't ever feel left out. Come on now.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I didn't know that about you either. I was speaking to you and I'm speaking to Simone. Then you press record and like, hi guys, you know what it is. I'm like, oh yeah? Where did that come from? I mean, I used to think those things were edited, but I see that actually they're straight from the heart.
They
so
are.
Well done.
Thank you. It's going to be one of those episodes. Jeffrey, thank you. As you heard, each of my guests today, they are coaches. We all work at the same organization where there is coaching services delivered to young men. I wanted to bring the subject of representation. I mean, with the murder of George Floyd and the resurgence of Black Lives Matter movement, there's been a lot of conversations around race and inequality and injustice, particularly in the Black community. And one of the things that has been quite spoken about is the idea of representation, particularly in the classroom, but you and I both know, Jeffrey, that there was never a representation for the young people that are overrepresented in the organization that we work with. And now we do. We have a team of 3 Black male coaches and 2 Black female coaches, which is more than when I started in 2016. I feel that a conversation around the topic of representation in the coaching community from a Black male perspective is quite a good one to have, because I can't speak on a male's behalf. I can't speak on your behalf or speak to your experiences, but what I can do is bring you to a table or a screen in this instance, and kind of have that open conversation. You're all coaches, so I know this is going to be a nice, meaningful conversation. There'll be growth, there'll be insights. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. When I say the term representation, or when people say representation, can each of you tell me like what that term means to you?
Yeah, great question, Simone. And I love the way that you phrase that, to each of you, because naturally it's something different to each and every person. I think, to stop myself going on a tangent, the best way I would put it is I would just use 2 words, 2 very simple words, like me. That's how I would interpret representation. Is there, a like me version? Is that for me? Can I understand it? Is there something for everyone? Representation and the word inclusion, to me, they're cousins in it, maybe even brothers. So that's what it means to me.
Thank you. And I like the way you put that, like me. Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say that representation for me is vitally important. It means lived experience, and it means I understand that they understand what I've had to overcome to get to where I am right now. And that to me is vitally important, because it means there's a lot of things that as a Black male you will experience that unless you're another Black male, you don't really know what it has taken to get to a particular situation, get through a particular situation, or get to a particular point in life. So yeah, I think it's vitally important, and representation is, just as Sam says, like me. I don't need to explain because they've lived it.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, interesting perspectives. And I think when I think of representation, probably think of it a little more broadly. And I suppose I see representation as really how something is portrayed. So when it comes to Black male coaches, for example, representation to me means how are we portrayed, or how do we look, how do we come across to other people. And I don't know if this is the question, but it's a tangent I'm kind of going to go down. In terms of representation, are we represented? I think it's a little bit different than in, for example, if there were 10 coaches, and it happened to be sort of a 60-40 split. 60 were white, 40 were Black. Is that represented in a particular environment? So, for example, when it comes to executive or corporate coaching, is it properly represented in that environment? Talking back about the work we do in prisons, there's an overrepresentation of young Black males in prisons. And what that basically means is when you look at population and the numbers of people based on sort of ethnicity, if all things were somehow equal, there would be a lot less Black people in prisons than we have now. But the overrepresentation basically means actually there's a disproportionate amount of Black people in prison, and sometimes perhaps that needs to be looked at why. But I know this isn't a prison talk. That was just an example. So that's kind of some of the things that come to me when it comes to come up for me when it comes to representation. How well are we represented, and how are we represented?
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, all three make good points, and I like that about how are we represented. Also, kind of ties into representation. And like I said before, I wanted to hear what representation means to each of you, because what my podcast is really about is it's sharing experiences, creating awareness, and provoking conversation, really, because we're all, four of us here are all Black. Like, we are from the Black community. We may have grown up in different parts of the world or in the UK, but we all share that one thing, which is in common: we're all Black. And this is a big message that I just really want to get out to anybody that's not from the community and doesn't fully understand. We are all different people. Like, our needs are different. Our approaches are different. The way in which we think is different. Like, we're not all, you can't put us all in one like pot and we all come out tasting the same. I know that's just a random, but it's like we're all different. So we all have different perspectives. We all have different ways that we deal with situations. So you can't just assume that what Jeffrey said is what every Black male sees as representation, or how every Black male approaches the conversation around representation. You know, we all bring different flares, different flavors. So I really want people to understand that this is what this is about. I'm not here to tell anybody that they're wrong. I'm not here to tell anybody that their opinion trumps anybody else's. Like, it's all learning. And again, as coaches, we that conversation is something that we are paid to do. And that's where the growth happens. The thought processes start to be questioned, and, you know, the challenges that is, yeah. Thank you. Is what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Can I share? I think you've put that really well, because one of the things that people fail to realize is that a Black male that's grown up in the Caribbean and then comes to the UK has a different experience from a Black male that's grown up in the UK and has lived there all his life, which is totally different from a Black male who's grown up in Africa and then come here. Different experience. We all are Black. We all experience the various nuances of being Black and how people perceive us, but the experiences are vastly different. And I think you just summed it up perfectly. And not a lot of people really get that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I would agree. And I mean, just to even echo that, you know, I think one of the things I've realized, and it'll be interesting having this discussion, is even generational differences as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, how we've all experienced society. So, yeah, I suppose I'm intrigued to see what will come up.
Thank you. So I want to take it like just a step to the side or a step back. And because I know what my introduction to coaching was, I really would like to know for each of you, what was your introduction to coaching?
Introduction to coaching, yeah. So my one was interesting, and I remember it. And my introduction to coaching is part of my sort of life story, to be fair. So I think I remember the year 2011, and I was on an internship at what is sometimes now referred to as the Notorious Kids Company. So some of you may know it. Kids Company shut down in 2015, and suppose I'll leave it there. But in 2011, I did an internship there, and I had an amazing line manager who I'm still in contact with today. And we actually spoke today on WhatsApp, called Daniela Glasgow. So I give her a shout out. And she kept on telling me about this thing called coaching, and you know, I was just, I mean, she was just talking about it, so I said fair enough. But I had my first coaching session, and she said it was career coaching. And that session absolutely blew me away. And I cannot describe it. It was sort of like magic. You know, when you see a magician do a magic trick to you and you have no idea how they did it, but you're just like, that was damn good. And just sometimes when you have some experiences, even sort of your body and your mind doesn't really know what's going on. And that's exactly what it was for me. And I just did the most amazing thing. And we were actually writing down, it was me and another girl sort of sitting down in the office while Daniela was coaching us, and we were writing down our answers. And I couldn't believe the things I wrote down. I was just like, what? These things are in you, Jeff. You know, like where that come from? And I just thought, whatever this is, I want more of it. And, you know, by that time, I started to get some ideas and inclination with sort of what it was I wanted to do with my life. And at that point, you know, that's when I knew, you know, I even believe I sort of have a calling or a mission to go to work in prisons. I was already working with young people at that time. And I had sort of a heart desire to go and work in prisons. And I knew I wasn't ready. You know, I knew I needed something. I just knew it inside me, but I didn't know what it was. So again, after I had that first session, then it just clicked. It landed in my head, and I was like, "This is exactly what I need to work in prisons." And then, you know, I said, when I grow up, I'm going to be a coach. And yeah, fortunate for me, the next year I was able to go on a coaching course with the Mo Foundation. So I give them a shout out too. And that course was actually gifted to me. So yeah, the next year I was a coach. And then the way life works, you know, they say things happen for a reason. So I actually became a coach because I wanted to use those skills to work with people in prisons.
Thank you. And it's like I said to everybody, some of this stuff I kind of knew, but I didn't know to a full extent.
For me, coaching was interesting. I think it's something that I found myself doing for most of my life, not even knowing that I was doing it. And I remember the experience very, very well. I was just about to set off on my corporate career with some US companies. And at the same time, I really discovered African history, Pan-African history, and I started to question everything. So much so that I was buying books, I was having sessions at my house, I was talking to community groups, I was on a different level, and I was kind of conflicted. It was like, wow, I've got this corporate career that I'm gonna venture off on. At the same time, I've got this at the same time, I'm looking at the education system saying, this doesn't match what I've learned. And I was like in this kind of confused state. And I remember it very well because I recently connected with this guy. His name's Paul Obina. He's an educational professional, very well known. And he said to me, he said, Michael, some of the stuff that you know, you need to come to the prisons and share it with some of the inmates in there, because you have a talent of being able to let people think. And I remember like, hey, I'm not qualified to do this. But guess what? The following weekend, I was driving 400 miles to Garth Prison in Lancashire.
Oh, wow.
And I remember going in, this is my first time in there. And I remember going in there and talking to these young men and basically asking questions, coaching questions, but not knowing that I was coaching. I was just trying to get them to think based on some of the information that I had. And I actually thought it didn't go very well. But coming out of that, Paul told me, he said, wow, he said, they've never met someone like you. They really, really need you to come back. And what ended up happening is I was spending, I think every other week, I drove 400 miles round trip to Lancashire, and I was coaching these young men in there. And at the same time, I was just about to take off on my corporate career. So I think I don't know how long it was going on for, several months, maybe longer. And then I went off to the US, and that was my real introduction to coaching and the power, and seeing these young men suddenly being inspired by a history that they hadn't learned in school, but they were questioning, but they didn't have the material to question what it was. So that was the beginning of my coaching, and that was in the 90s.
Wow.
Wow, man. Wow. How do I follow that up? When I, some first experience with coaching, I have to put it out there because coaching, not always been regulated. People can have some negative views on coaching. And my first experience was actually a negative one. So back in the day, a long time ago, I'm saying back in the day in case the missus is listening, innit? A long time ago, I was dating this girl. And long time ago, babe. Long time ago, I was dating this girl. And she went on this course with work. And I didn't really know what it was about. And this was before the film Shallow Hal came out with Jack Black and Gwyneth Paltrow, and it has Tony Robbins, the coach, in it, that film. And she came back, and she was like a brand new person. I asked her a question, and she said to me, she was my girlfriend at the time, and she said, "I'm not dealing with that negativity." I said, "Pardon?" She said, "I'm not dealing with that negativity or that shit." I said, "What's going on?" She said, "Well, Tony Robbins says." And like Tony was his third wheel in the relationship for a minute still. So I was thinking, right, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. So that was my first experience. That was, not as far back as mine. That was in the noughties when I was just like, right, she's gone away for the weekend. This is a cult because she's come back and everything I'm saying, she's like, I'm not dealing with that negativity. I'm not dealing with that negativity. That's all she kept saying. I'm not dealing with that negativity. Wow. What on God's green earth? So I didn't like coaching, to tell you the truth, to start with. We fast forward a few years now, and my background is corporate. So, some of you guys know I was an account manager for one of Britain's biggest retailers, and I managed teams in the UK, Europe, and India. The thing that I loved the most was relationships, communications, people, creating environments for people. And I dithered for such a long time, back and forth, asking myself, like, what makes me holier than thou that I can coach? That was like a constant prodding. What makes you holier than thou? What makes you holier than thou? And what I've learned so much in life is that usually the answer is in the question or the solution is in the problem. And I realized that what makes me holier than thou, or doesn't make me holier than thou, was what could help me. The fact that I didn't see myself as perfect, that fact that I, saw myself as damaged, is what really allowed me to have good relationships with people who come to me in the same mindset. And I went back and forth, and I spoke to a friend of mine, and he said, listen, he's a physio, and he said, what makes me a good physio is not the fact that I'm an excellent physio. He said it's the fact that I have empathy. When people come through to my practice, they see, they have injuries, and they say, look, I did it picking up my son, I did it picking up my grandkid, I did it, just bending down, and I haven't been able to see anyone because I'm embarrassed. So that really helped me kind of make my decision. Then one of the things I did, which is funny because we've been talking about representation for a long time. I don't know if I've told many people this. I used to go onto my laptop, and I used to type black British male life coach, constantly type it in, and all that would come up was American public speaker, American motivational speaker. That's what constantly came up. So I thought to myself, what's going on here? But then I just said a few moments ago that the answer is in the question, the solution is in the problem. So I thought, I can't find anyone. I'm not saying that there isn't, I can't seem to find them. So ultimately, that's the solution. It's me. I can do that. And the next time someone else searches it, they'll see me, So that was how I got into it. I went to a coaching school, like Jeffrey, and it was fantastic. The reason why I went is because I was so enamored and fascinated with the whole history of coaching, the science behind it, that it made sense to want to know more. And I talked about coaching not necessarily being regulated, and I understand that, and I don't judge anyone who doesn't have any qualifications. For me, logically, it was like, I want to know more, so I need to surround myself with like-minded people and submerge myself in the world. That's why I wanted to do it, and I was at the right time and the right age to do it, and I had great support. The irony is I used to have a boss, and people in general used to say to me, you think too much. And now I get paid to think. So shout out to the ones that said I used to think too much.
Listening to each of your experiences and your introduction to coaching, it's all different. And for anybody who's not familiar with Tony Robbins, I believe there's a Netflix documentary if you really want to find out about Mr. Robbins.
I split up with that girl not long after that. So There you go, Tony. That's what you did if you're listening, mate. I'm not dealing with that negativity. I'm not dealing with that shit. She just kept saying that on repeat. Everything I asked her, I said, listen, what do you want to do? Do you want to go something? I'm not dealing with that negativity. There's negative people there. I was like, wow, this ain't healthy.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you.
Guys, can I tell you something crazy?
Yeah.
As Sam said it, he said, he types in black British male coaches. I just typed that on Google, went to images and saw myself.
Hey, then you did better than me, mate. But that's the answer, isn't it? The answer is in the, question. So props to you, Jeffrey.
That is absolutely crazy.
There you go, guys. Looking for a black British male coach, life coach. Jeffrey should come up. But then so should Michael and so should Sam now. You got to make sure that you put that in your taglines. You got to make sure that it's somewhere on the website, somewhere in your profiles. Black British male life coach, and they'll be able to find you too. I'm keen. I'm interested to know, like, on your journey to becoming coaches, did you see much coaches that look like you? And I guess this is where the whole topic of representation kind of comes in.
I really didn't, and that's what kind of, that's what put me off, really, to tell you the truth. I had this, so many conversations with people. When I told them, oh, I'm coaching now, they're like, of course you are. Of course you're a coach. And I had one friend, so many friends, so much support, but one specific friend, shout out to Nathan Phillip, who used to just lambast me and chastise me as to why I hadn't gotten started yet, but I didn't see anyone, and maybe that was one of the reasons why I was a little slow with it. There wasn't much representation. There was a lot of, like I said, American motivational speakers, and I think as a coach, I think you coach as your character is. If you're calculated, then that's how your coaching to me will be. If you're organized, then you'll coach like that. If you're motivational, then that's how you'll come across. So I'm not, if somebody says to me, oh, that coaching session was motivational, I find you motivational, then, I'll take however you find me. But I kept seeing motivational speaker, and they were loud and in your face, and it wasn't, even though here I'll flip a little bit, they represented me from a skin tone perspective. But as we mentioned, that if you're from here or from there or from there, that wasn't me. So I'm seeing all this, and it's not me. That wasn't me at all. So I might have seen certain black male coaches, but they weren't representative of me. So I hope that answers you. But yeah, yes and no, I guess.
That does answer the question, and then it taps into, so like, and I will come back to Jeffrey and Michael with this question. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but would you say that kind of supported your motivation also going into coaching, because you didn't see anybody that looked like you?
Yeah, absolutely. I there was like, I felt like there was a lane, and there weren't many people in that lane. So I just jumped in that lane and started driving, and then I see Jeffrey and Mike in my way, innit? And I'm bibbing my horn trying to move them out of the way. But yeah, it did. It motivated me to really go for it. I just thought to myself, there's that saying. It's very common. If not you, who? If not now, when? There's a very common saying, but it resonated for me at the time. It was like, well, if you're not going to do it, let's fast forward. Someone else wants to check it out, and they're put off because of this and because of that. You need to. It actually spurred me on. The lack of representation spurred me on. Great question, Sam.
I'd like to say, yeah, I definitely agree with that. The first black male coaches I really met was Jeffrey and Samuel, to be honest with it. And Jeffrey inspired me through the Mo Foundation and what he was doing. I thought, yeah, this guy's got his stuff together. And he's also a trainer, which inspired me as well. So I really, really, really like that. On top of that, Sam and I had an interesting experience, actually, and it really came home when we were going through an induction through the security procedures in one of the prisons. And there were about 20 different support workers who go in and out of those prisons. And they all came up to us, to Sam and myself, and said, "You're coaches, you're black male coaches. We need this. We've needed this for ages." I mean, Sam and us looking at each other like, what? And it was actually an experience, wasn't it, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, keep speaking. I'll back you on that 100%.
It was, oh, wow, really? Why not? Why aren't there any here? And they were just like, "Can we get your number? Can we contact you? This is really, really, really needed." And at that point, I realized, wow, we've got a problem. Not a problem that can't be solved, but wow, there's something that's definitely missing here. But that took an experience. The two of us was sort of like, we're just there to do our jobs. And we were basically accosted by a bunch of different support workers who were in and out of those prisons on a regular basis. So they knew what they were dealing with. They knew the situation, they knew the circumstances, and they knew the individuals. And they said, wow, this is different. I've never met two of you or any of you. So that was quite powerful. So didn't really have any representation of people that I knew that were coaches. And I think it's important, though, to actually distinguish the difference between a coach and a mentor, because there are a lot of mentors.
Yes, please, please.
And, the coaching profession, it's very easy to think that a mentor is a coach. And there are also a lot of gurus around who claim to coach, but coaching and mentoring are two different things, vastly different. As a coach, you will listen to the individual and you will ask permission if they want to hear your idea or ability to show them a direction. But mainly we are listening and helping that individual think through situations, circumstances for themselves. A mentor will very much have been down that particular road and tell you what to do. So coaching is very, very different from mentoring. I don't know if you guys want to add any more to that.
Yeah, well, firstly, I second that, and I second the first bit that you said about, the representation again, and in the prison. Absolutely, you couldn't have said it better, Mike. Yeah, I agree around coaching and mentoring. I often say to people, I could coach an astronaut. I don't have to know the buttons to press. I just have to know how you feel about the buttons you press. And yeah, Mike nailed it again, where the mentor has experience. The mentor might feel it's almost like a looking down on you position as mentoring, but with coaching, it's a side-by-side collaboration. We're both in the car, where you're going. You're just saying, what is left? I'm asking you what left looks like. And you're thinking, yeah, do you know what? I might turn left. And they might say to me, what do I do if I turn left and it doesn't work? So, well, have a go. Whereas the mentor might say, you don't want to turn left. I've turned left before and this is what happened. So yeah, I agree with that, Mike.
So again, I can only agree with Sam and Mike. And, I think just to add to the balance for that, especially for some people listening. So one of the things I do is I actually do some mentoring training. And what I'd say is traditionally mentoring was sort of far left, i.e. I'm the expert. I sort of tell you what to do, if we want to say it sort of simply. And I think that way of learning doesn't actually even work anymore. Really people sort of like to learn and move and actually action through dialogue. So actually the mentor training that I do, different to the coach training, it actually uses a lot of principles from coaching, because mentors are beginning to see the benefits of a kind of self-directed way of learning. And I think that's probably the key for coaching. It is a self-directed way of learning. Coaching is very much about learning, as well as it may be about achieving goals or somehow getting from A to B. It's the learning process which is very valuable, and the insights. And as Sam alluded to as well, or even said, it's experiential. It's about experience. It's about mistakes, and even what can you learn from mistakes, and just that sort of personal growth. Whereas I haven't necessarily known mentoring to be like that. Mentoring isn't as directive as it used to be. and at least that's not the model I sort of, train people in. However, it is still dependent on someone with more experience, guiding someone with lesser experience. And even when we think about something like reverse mentoring, it's basically the opposite. So reverse mentoring may be someone with less experience, guiding someone with more experience on how, for example, they experience something. So, reverse mentoring might come in the form of being someone from a sort of BAME community, mentoring someone generally in senior management who's not from that community on what things are like on the ground. Or other types of reverse mentoring have looked like, I'm from a younger generation, I know how to use this technology, let me sort of support and mentor you in that. So that's kind of, just to echo what the guys have said. Mike, I want to say, honestly, thank you for just a big up. That's really nice to receive those compliments. So much appreciated.
Yeah, do you know what? I just need to jump in there now. The thing is, Sim, it's true as well. He's getting a big head. I was so blown away by Jeffrey initially. I was just like, what? Do you know what I mean? I really was. I was like, damn. And then I was like, Mike's ability to really create the moment and emotion there and then, and force you to deal with how you're feeling there and then. I was like, man went home and started doing press ups, innit? Like, I had to get ready for these two. You know what I mean? Like, I had to be ready for them two, and it's nice. So again, representation. It's nice to have that. And anytime I'm around them, it's like I learn, and then I think to myself, right, I have to go again. So it's actually great to have that representation, but also to know these guys and to know that I can't be comfortable, because if I get comfortable, someone will say, type in black male life coach and British life coach and see Jeffrey and not me. So I have to be on my job, innit?
Just to say, it's not my site. I'm on someone's site. Some site called Quarter Life. So it's not, for example, my personal site. But I just noticed when I clicked on it, I saw it. I was like, wow. So look, since we're throwing out compliments, and look, I do want to make a disclaimer. I think all of you guys know me well, and you know me to sort of be as authentic as possible. So I'm not wanting to change that at this minute. But since we're throwing out compliments, I want to do some too. And firstly, I'll start with Sam, because I knew Mike already, and I have to say, Sam blew me away. And Sam, I haven't even told you. No, I think I might have told you something. I've told you this, so this shouldn't be the time you're hearing it. What you might not know is I went home and I spoke to my wife about you. And I was like, rah, trust me, Sam's on board and it's going to be a dangerous game. Like, I mean, and you can hear it even from this podcast. Sam with his sort of baritone voice that I'm a little bit jealous of. But he comes out with a lot of wisdom, and I really respect that. But to be honest, in terms of Sam's knowledge and experience as a coach, it's phenomenal. So I want to put that out there. And Michael, Michael's a man of many talents. But again, I've worked with Michael through the Mo Foundation, and what can I say? Like, I'm the one that sort of brought Michael onto HJVP as well, because actually we were looking for people. I knew Michael didn't know about it. I don't know if you remember when I called you, Mike. I was like, to be honest, you're perfect, and you're the type of person we're still looking for. You're gonna have to do the assessment and go through the whole criteria, but I'm definitely wanting you to do this because I think you've got everything that the guys need, and you understand them. And you came and you did it, Mike. There was no easy way out. I told you about an opportunity, but I couldn't get you to walk through the door. You smashed it with flying colours.
Thank you guys for just having that moment of appreciation and showing love to one another. People often say that we don't support one another, we're always putting each other down, and there are some people that have that crab in the barrel kind of mentality, and when they get an opportunity, it's like they proper hold the door closed, like no one else ain't getting in here, like it's just me, there's only room for one when there's room for plenty. But it's beautiful that I can share this with the listeners, just that moment of, and guys, this is not rehearsed. Like, this is very much so, we're here in the moment having this conversation, and this is where it's going. I'm conscious, Jeffrey, that you didn't answer the question of, did you see much coaches that looked like you on your journey to becoming a coach?
Yeah, my one's a short one. Definitely not. So, I mean, to be honest, I didn't even know there were so many coaches till I sort of got through the door. But in terms of black coaches, definitely not. And, you know, the first black coach I ever met was, again, through Spark Inside. That was my first professional coaching kind of appointment. And there was one other. And along the way, I met some other people. We've already discussed it. I met some people who titled themselves coaches and were not coaches. And yeah, strangely enough, it did sort of come to meeting Mike and Sam. And I think they are actually my first black friends, male coaches. And I know a big community.
Wow.
I didn't actually know that many black women coaches, but I think I met a couple. But yeah, not male coaches. So I actually thought, I mean, I suppose what I thought was true, but I thought I was sort of like, what do you call it, a needle in a haystack or something. You know, hard to find. But yeah, again, so yeah, very much like the other guys.
And
I don't actually think there are enough.
The first coach I met was Louis, actually, when I worked for a different organization, and I was already working with some of the young people that they were trying to gain access to. So I did an introduction with Louis and a young person. Louis was the first coach that I'd met in person, and I met Lola. For me, it was like, wow, she's black, she's nice, like, she's out here just doing this whole coaching thing, and she'll sit there and be like, nah, in a meeting, and people will be like, okay, all right. And I'm like, she's got hella confidence, she's just courageous, and she always says, seek forgiveness, not permission, which is so rebel-like of Lola. But she was my introduction to a black coach. She was female, she was Nigerian, like, so it was just, for me, it was a lot of different, there were similarities there that ticked a lot of boxes for me, and kind of made my introduction and my fueled my passion really for coaching. And I didn't really see anybody else. I think I met Jeffrey because I joined the organization, and I just wanted to know, are you aware of a network or some kind of tribe that is just predominantly black coaches?
In the US, you'll find certain groups, definitely, predominantly female, because I think women nurture each other naturally, and I think that's great. I don't think you'll find so many here in the UK, and maybe a little less in the US for male coaches. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I don't really know of many here. And once again, I think it's that distinction between mentors and coaches, which sometimes the line gets blurred. So
and
yeah,
also throwing in motivational speaker, because
motivational speaker as well. Yeah.
They like to do the motivational speech and then throw in their, oh, and I'm a coach.
Yeah, and yeah.
It's like after that or before that or during that.
I'm a coach.
Yeah.
All of it.
I mean, I have nothing against motivational speakers, but you know, I think that people should just be distinct in what it is that they do, and not try to do too much of just throwing the words coach, I'm a life coach out there, because I met people that were throwing, like Jeffrey, throwing the words life coach out there, and it's like, what are you doing? This ain't it. And I ain't even studied it yet, but this ain't it.
Yeah.
And then people that don't fully know what coaching is get misconstrued and think it's mentoring or something else. And then they're like, oh yeah, that's definitely what this is. No, it's not. Like, let's not try and go down the road of, if you don't know, then seek. Like, seek the knowledge is out there to go and learn about what it is. Don't just take somebody's words for it. And that whole qualification thing, I mean, you know, it is, yeah, that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, I think
one of the things as well is that, you know, just going back to why we can complement each other, there's no ego here, right? When you come as a coach, you don't come with ego. You come with a humbleness to create a space so that someone can talk and share and learn let them learn what's going on in their own heads. And one of the things I love working with Sam and Jeffrey is that there's no ego in there. And that's the key factor, really. And when you start to talk about motivational, inspirational, or mentoring, there comes an element of ego because I've done it, so I'm showing you how to do it. And that kind of is one of the significant differences between the two.
Hi guys, it's Keanu again. You're listening to the ReEducation podcast.
Hey Universe Friends, I'm Dear Nadine, founder and co-creator of Universe Friends Collections, an all-natural bespoke collection of body butters, aura sprays and soaps made to uplift, soothe and nurture your greatness, using essential oils, herbs and love to nourish your body, mind and spirit. Like I said, bespoke because you deserve the best, and you're listening to the ReEducation podcast.